You think you're alone on the night shift. But what if something is watching? A shadow in the closet, doors unlocking on their own, a crash in the kitchen with no explanation. This isn't just another haunted house story. This is real. And tonight, you'll see what happens when the darkness decides you're next. Stay tuned, because once you start watching, you won't be alone either. The house was beautiful. A 6-bedroom, 2-story home in an affluent neighborhood, built sometime in the late 80s or early 90s. It should have been warm and inviting. But instead, from the moment she walked through the door, she felt it. A presence, something watching, waiting. Her coworkers had warned her. Stories of doors opening on their own, alarms failing to sound. One woman was so disturbed by what she had seen that she refused to go upstairs. But warnings are easy to dismiss until you see it for yourself. One of the residents, J, had a habit that always unsettled her. In the dead of night, he would stand in front of his open closet, whispering. She had assumed it was harmless, just an eccentricity. But one night, when she went to check on him, she saw what he was whispering to. She froze in the doorway. Inside JJ's closet, standing in the suffocating darkness, was a figure, blacker than the void itself. Its glowing red eyes burned like embers in the night. It wasn't just a trick of the shadows. It was real, and it was watching her. She ran, back down the stairs, back to the light, but safety was an illusion. The house had other horrors waiting. The doors, locked and alarmed to protect the residents, began opening on their own. The garage door, the patio door. No alarm sounded, no security breach. Just doors unlocking and swinging open into the blackness of the night as if something was inviting itself in. She checked every room. Every resident was still asleep, but she wasn't alone. Then came the worst night of all. Sitting in the living room, lost in paperwork, she heard it. An earth-shattering crash from the kitchen. She leapt up, expecting to find a resident up and moving. But when she stepped into the kitchen, the room was untouched. Not a dish out of place, not a cabinet open. But the sound had been real. She felt her pulse hammering in her throat. Then she noticed something even more disturbing. No one else had woken up. Her heart pounded in her chest. The lightest sleeper, whose room was just off the kitchen, should have been awake. The crash had been too loud. It should have shaken the entire house. But when she checked, he was still. His breathing unnaturally slow. Almost as if something had kept him asleep. Something unnatural, something watching her even now. That's when she felt it. The weight of unseen eyes pressing down on her. A cold presence coiling around her like fingers made of ice. She still had 6 hours left in her shift, but she would not be alone. The thing in JJ's closet, the presence in the darkened halls. It had always been there, and now it wanted her to know. Some places are haunted, not just by spirits, but by the weight of what has happened within their walls. A house can remember. And when the darkness comes, some are left to face it alone. But in this house, the night shift is never truly alone. Some doors should never be opened. Some windows should never be left ajar. But what if the horror was already inside? A couple moves into their new home, only to discover the sinister truth hidden within its walls. Strange knocks, an empty locked room, and a presence that refuses to leave. This isn't just a ghost story, it's a warning. Stay until the end, because some nightmares don't end when you wake up. Some moments leave wounds on the soul, wounds that never heal. For Amelia, Jason, and his wife, it all began with an open window. Summer 2012. A new home, a fresh start, But even warm beginnings can hide cold shadows. Downstairs, Amelia welcomed them warmly, mentioning her unseen roommate, Stacy, a name they would never forget. A faint knock, then another, harder, louder. The walls trembled. Then, the scream. A sound so raw, so inhuman it tore through the night. Outside, red and blue lights flashed. Amelia stood frozen, her face drained of color. Something was terribly wrong. Stacy had been locked in her room for days. When the police broke in, they found nothing, just silence. Death had already settled there, and something else remained. Amelia packed in a panic, trash bags, not suitcases. She left everything behind, furniture, clothes, even food, not because of bad luck, because something was still there. Curiosity is dangerous. Jason's wife hesitated at the doorway. The room was ice cold. "I just want to close the window," she whispered. She did. Then, behind her, the soft creak of unseen footsteps. It started with whispers, then shadows. Objects moved on their own. A broom stood upright. The TV blared at full volume. Something was watching and waiting. Jason left early. His wife woke in darkness. The closet door, always cracked open, was now shut. She ran to the hallway. Every light was on, every door, every window, wide open. An invitation, a warning, a claim. Then total darkness and a whisper right behind her ear. "Mine." She ran, barefoot, shaking. She collapsed inside the complex gym, Jason's voice barely reaching her through the phone. No answers, no closure, only escape. But the past doesn't stay behind locked doors. A new tenant moved in, boxes stacked. Silence. Then, the closet door creaked open, waiting.